Fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howley. We've got a packed show for you tonight. Has the Islamophobia definition really been scrapped? Is it antagonistic to wear a Star of David in public? And how to respond to the banning of Jewish football fans? And
there is always support for free speech in the abstract, except everybody says, but.
Free Speech Nation has been at the Battle of Ideas Festival. I'll be giving you access to the discussions that sparked the most debate. Plus,
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry.
is trans ideology finally losing its stranglehold on debate? And
what about their legs? They don't need those. Ooh, they look tasty.
Is The Lord of the Rings a metaphor for white supremacy? That's just one of the questions me and my fellow comedians will be answering from a live studio audience that are here. But first, the news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening, I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom at 7 o'clock. The Metropolitan Police says it's looking into a claim that Prince Andrew asked a close protection officer to investigate Virginia Giuffre before she accused him of sexual abuse. 2 newspapers are reporting that he asked his bodyguard to dig up dirt for a smear campaign shortly before a photograph of the pair with Ghislaine Maxwell was published in 2011. Andrew gave up his remaining royal titles and honours on Friday over his association with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, although he denies all the allegations against him. Daylight robbery at one of the world's most famous museums. Priceless jewellery has been stolen from the Louvre in Paris. It's understood 3 or 4 masked men broke into the Apollo Gallery, containing what remains of the French crown jewels. French Interior Minister says thieves escaped with 9 pieces from the Napoleon and the Empress collection that are of incalculable value. One item has since been found near the scene of the heist. Israel is to halt the supply of aid into Gaza after accusing Hamas of violating the ceasefire. The military says it has carried out airstrikes on Gaza after repeated attacks on its troops by Hamas. But the group claims it remains committed to the peace agreement and is working to locate and return the remaining deceased hostages. 369 migrants crossed the English Channel in small boats on Saturday, bringing the total this year so far to almost 37,000. Meanwhile, the Home Office says 16 illegal migrants have been returned to France under the one-in, one-out scheme. On a single flight this week, 42 people have so far been returned under the new deal. The government is promising to create 400,000 new jobs by the end of the decade by training and recruiting workers for the clean energy sector. Ministers say plumbers, electricians and welders are among the occupations in demand, and that North Sea oil and gas workers will be able to access support to help them transition into the sector. And hundreds of people have turned out for the funeral of the cricket umpire Dickie Bird in his hometown of Barnsley. He died last month at the age of 92. Former England and Yorkshire cricketer Sir Geoffrey Boycott read out his eulogy for his friend of almost 70 years, describing him as the best umpire in the world and very special. And Michael Vaughan says he brought so much joy to the game.
I mean, I remember as a young player just having times of difficulty, not scoring too many runs. I might get 10 or a 12 and he said, "Oh, you're playing great." He'd always tell you that you were playing great. So he had a positive kind of influence on everybody, and obviously that little seat that he has at Headingley, it's going to be void, but we'll give him a great send-off today.
You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is a show where we cast our gaze across the spectrum of culture, current affairs and politics, doing our best to bring a bit of common sense to that which has become senseless. Coming up on the show tonight, for those of you who didn't get a chance to attend the Battle of Ideas Festival this weekend, don't worry, because I'll bring you some surprise speakers along to have a chat with me in the studio tonight. I'll also be showing you the discussions I had at the Free Speech Nation event. Also tonight, as a Jewish lawyer accuses the Met Police of arresting him partly for wearing a Star of David, and with Jewish football fans banned for their own safety, are the police capitulating to racists rather than upholding the law? But first, the 20th Battle of Ideas Festival has been taking place over the weekend in London. It's an event that covers an enormous range of debates about politics, economics, science and culture. And as well, we still find ourselves in the midst of a culture where debate and freedom of expression are stifled. It was encouraging to see the range of attendees at this year's festival. I had a little chat with some faces you might recognise about why this event is so special for them.
You can talk about anything, it's such a relief. You know, anywhere else you go, you feel like you're trying to put across ideas or facts, actually, that a lot of people are hostile to. And so it's nice to be amongst people that allow you to say things, that even if they disagree with them, you know you're not going to destroy them and they're not going to hate you.
There's so many, I'm shocked by how many people are here. Certainly open, and I think it's sort of changed a little bit because I think people were really not conforming to left-right kind of silos anymore. I think it's kind of opened up a little bit.
Because I see that there are lots of stands here about things I might not necessarily agree with, but I think it's important to keep your mind open and to hear what other people have to say and why they think that way.
So, is this your first time at Battle of Ideas?
No, this is my second time. I was here last year, so yeah, my second time back. I had a great time last year, so I'm back for more.
What were you expecting last year, and how was it different?
I think last year I was just looking for a space to be able to sort of really challenge myself in terms of, debating different topics that just don't get talked about. It's really nice this year. There's so many more younger people, so that's sort of why I came last year, is to meet some more people my own age to, talk about freedom of speech, talk about things that I can't talk in my social circles because, you never know who you're going to upset or how they're going to react or whatever.
It's important we have different ideas. Diversity of thought is really important, but people are frightened now to actually speak out and share what they think. And if you don't agree, that's fine. You can agree to disagree, and we've got to learn to do that again. We've got to find a way back from this polarisation that we found ourselves in, this us and them kind of society that we've ended up with, and we can see what the effects are of that. So we need to somehow pull together to get back to that respectful disagreement, and this is where some of this may start.
What I like about it is it's no way an echo chamber. There's so many different viewpoints, and it's just a pity you can't get to everything because there's so much on. But it's such a great institution, basically. Yeah, I love it.
Especially with the online world that we live in, people only know how to debate online, and having these discussions in person and kind of practicing the skill of debating and even arguing for positions that you don't necessarily agree with is so important, and it's a skill that we've completely lost.
There were men there as well. Well, one of the attendees of that festival that managed to dodge my camera is comedian and writer Andrew Doyle, who joins us. Here! There he is! Hello! He's not in America! He exists, he's physical, he's real.
Any excuse to touch me.
Absolutely. You should have seen what I was doing with that chair before you turned up. So,
I can guess.
Hello, lovely to see you, mate.
How are you?
I'm good. You've been obviously very busy this weekend at the festival. Did you enjoy it?
Well, it's a highlight of my year. I love it.
Yeah.
Genuinely, because I'm that sad. I love debates, basically. So we turn up and we do lots of panels and thrash out the issues of the day.
That's it. Well, look, let's get straight into it, because one of the big issues that we're talking about, I mean, we've been talking about it for a while now, but this definition of Islamophobia that the Labour government trying to kind of rewrite or put through, they're saying it's been scrapped, but it's actually a little bit more complicated than that.
Well, there's a bit of a history here, because, of course, the all-party parliamentary group about 6 years ago...
See, that's the difference in me and you as hosts. You can remember those kind of those level of details.
Yes. Well, they decided to come up with a definition of Islamophobia, and as I say, this was cross-party. So Dominic Grieve was involved as well, and the definition they came up with was pretty unsatisfactory. They said that Islamophobia was a form of racism that attacked Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. So make of that what you will, because no one really knows what that means. So it's a very vague definition, and it's factually wrong, because Islam is not a race. Islam is a belief system, so it's just not racism. So they've had a lot of pressure ever since then. There have been some sort of overtures by the Labour government trying to settle on a firm definition of Islamophobia, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a bit of a nonsense term anyway. It was a term that was popularised by even Islamists have attempted to popularise this back in the 70s. You know, so this has been a term...
To stop criticism or to conflate it with as an ideology.
Well, look, there is such a thing as anti-Muslim hatred. There are people who will attack individuals who are identifiably Muslim. That's already criminal, obviously, because that's assault. So there is such a thing as anti-Muslim hatred. But that then gets conflated under this banner of Islamophobia with anyone who criticises any aspect of the religion. And, of course, you can't have a belief system in a free country that isn't open to ridicule or criticism. I mean, that's just the way it is when you live in a free society. So that term, Islamophobia, was a rotten term anyway. And, of course, even calling it a phobia almost pathologises it. So there are perfectly good reasons why you would disagree with tenets of any religion. Calling it a phobia almost implies that you have a sickness, you have a problem in you if you oppose, I don't know, the treatment of women in Islamic countries or the treatment of gay people in Islamic countries. But those are perfectly legitimate perspectives to hold. So now they've said, we're going to bring the definition out. They're not telling us what the definition now is. That's been kept under wraps. I'm not sure why. They've said we're going to be very pleased with it. And insiders have said it doesn't use the term Islamophobia, in fact. So I don't know how they've defined Islamophobia. I think they've decided to go for anti-Muslim hatred. But that doesn't need a definition. It's self-defining. Why do you need to define officially anti-Muslim hatred?
Well, they've taken away also that element of Muslimness as well, so
Yes,
that's
because
encouraging.
I don't know what Muslimness
means. They
means.
couldn't define it.
Yes.
But the question is, so when you read into it, it sounds like they're just scrapping the whole thing. They've already written the report. It's, as you say, it's secret. It's gone to the government to approve it or not.
Yes.
But there's some of the people who are involved in writing it have very suspect connections themselves.
Yes.
And one of the chilling elements for me was where they basically said, look, if you don't adopt this, then we're just going to stick with the previous definition, which is, as you talked about, just terrible.
Well, it's a threat to free speech. I mean, this is why the Free Speech Union has been involved to try and sort this out. And, you know, there is, I mean, frankly, there are elements of the Labour Party that are trying to appease the Muslim vote, you know, and they think that this will help that. But no group deserves protection regarding their beliefs, other than the freedom to believe whatever you want to believe. So, but you can't be ring-fenced from criticism. It's just not a thing. So we'll see what happens now. I'm looking forward to what their definition actually is going to be. But there's an added problem, isn't there, insofar as, OK, if they come up with an official definition of anti-Muslim hatred... Now, I don't like the idea of hating anyone, really, or any group. But if you're dealing with human beings, we have the freedom of emotion. I don't think hatred should be something that the government or police are involved with. People are free to hate whoever they like, for whatever reason they like. That's called being a free individual in a liberal society. And we may not like that, but that's just the reality. And that's why I oppose all hate speech laws full stop, because you're trying to audit an emotion that is the product of a long time, evolutionary history, in fact.
As a side sort of story, this week there was, you see Lord Toby Young of Acton.
I can't get over calling him a lord. It's mad.
He loves it. He loves it.
I'm
he
sure.
won't let you call him Toby anymore.
Well, he only wears the ermine now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Wherever he goes, he's dressed as a weasel.
But they put forward an amendment on the Crime and Safety Bill to finally scrap these non-crime. I know they're your pet hate, or everybody's pet hate. These non-crime hate incidents that finally we might actually be able to get rid of them.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for Toby Young, because not just because he set up the Free Speech Union, which has been one of the most important weapons that we have against this erosion of our freedoms, but also that he's standing up there and making this case. I know we've seen Claire Fox, of course, in the House of Lords, making brilliant cases as well. It's good that we've got free speech defenders within the system now. Toby Young is putting together a report on freedom of speech and hate speech specifically, and he's actually said we need to scrap the idea of non-crime hate incidents. At least he's saying it. No one's had the guts to say it.
This week, because they put it onto as an amendment, and it seems like it's got a lot of support in the House of Lords, then when it goes back, it actually could go through, and this finally could be the end of it.
Well, this is what it needs. This is what needs to happen. I don't know how much people understand about it, but the non-crime hate incident as a principle, and you've probably got some against your name, right? Because you know, you can check. You can do a freedom of information.
Did you do one against me?
I did. Yeah. Okay. Every time you've annoyed me, I've phoned the police and I've said that it's motivated by hatred towards a protected characteristic, and then they log it. But they log it without telling you. So you could well have non-crime hate incidents against your name without knowing it. Now that matters if you're going for a job in teaching or something sensitive like that, where you need a disclosure and barring service check. So it can actually have an effect. And what it means is you're handing a weapon to any activist with a grudge who wants to get their own back on you. I mean, with Helen Joyce, the writer Helen Joyce, she had a crime reported against her name without any investigation. A crime, no investigation, no
she didn't know about it.
And she didn't know about it. So this is really scary stuff, actually, proper Orwellian stuff. I think with non-crime hate incidents, they were invented in 2014 by the College of Policing arbitrarily. And the College of Policing are the body that train police in England and Wales. They didn't have a government mandate to do it. They just did it because they are activists captured. The Home Office has twice told them to stop doing it. That's 2 successive Home Secretaries saying you can't do that because you're police, you're not supposed to be investigating non-crime.
I believe it's 60,000 hours of police time are spent on these.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know the Free Speech Union has estimated that there's been at least, I think they said roughly 250,000 non-crime hate incidents recorded since it was introduced.
Since I started hosting the show.
Well, I mean, I know quite a lot are against you, and it sounds so flippant and it sounds so frivolous. But actually, if you think about the principle of that, you know, the police being trained their job is to monitor people's thought and speech. That's where we get this two-tier policing from. That's why we have this problem at the moment, that the police are being told that their job is to be activists on behalf of this very niche activist group. And it doesn't work both ways, of course. You know, we've seen Lucy Connolly serving over a year in prison for a tweet that she deleted very, very quickly. It was an ill-advised tweet. It was an unpleasant tweet. But it was said in a rush of anger. She deleted it. That should have been the end of it. But she served over a year in prison of a 31-month sentence. At the same time, you have an influencer just a few weeks ago with over 200,000 followers, much more clout than Lucy Connolly, explicitly saying kill them all in reference to Conservative commentators after the murder of Charlie Kirk. The police said, well, there's nothing to see here. So it's just not true. I mean, the head of the Met Police has said, after the arrest of Graham Linehan, said that we have no choice because the Parliament is telling, you know, the Parliament needs to change the law so we don't investigate these sort of frivolous things. But they do have a choice. Police choose all the time which investigations to take seriously and which not to. So that's a lie. That's just not true at all. But now, and he's right in a way, if you have Parliament guiding and saying, no, you can't do that, if Parliament had stepped in earlier and abolished the College of Policing, then we wouldn't have this problem to begin with. If they had recognised, OK, this is an activist body that is unaccountable to the electorate, that is making up its own rules for the police, that is effectively implementing its own laws, you know, acting unlawfully. I mean, the High Court ruled that non-crime hate incidents were unlawful, were a serious chilling effect on freedom of expression. And the College of Policing just said, we'll carry on doing it anyway. In fact, the head of the College of Policing said, I think the problem might be the name. You know, maybe we should rebrand and call it something else, but effectively keep the phrase, keep non-crime hate incidents. So, as you know, whenever there's a law in place that activists don't like, they just pretend it doesn't exist, and they work around it in the way that Stonewall has been misrepresenting the law on gender equality for many, many years. And I fear that the College of Policing won't change anything unless Parliament says you have to change something. But goodness knows how it's going to work. I mean, yes, we might get this amendment to the bill, but remember, we have a Labour government that is deeply authoritarian by nature. I mean, Yvette Cooper, when Labour were voted in, said she wanted to ramp up the recording of non-crime hate incidents. It's part of their DNA. They just absolutely love this stuff.
Well, let's see what happens to this amendment. Anyway, look, thank you very much. It's Andrew Doyle, everybody. There he is. Next on Free Speech Nation, should taxpayers buy lipstick for male criminals? That's just one of the questions me and my comedians will be answering from our live studio audience. Don't go anywhere. See you in 2 minutes.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. My comedian guests this evening are the Intel lady and Carey Marx. Intel, how are you? You've burnt your red wig.
No way.
You're keeping
No way. She's doing a speech. She's doing her official resignation speech this week, apparently.
Oh, really? You're just ready
So
and get that video out there.
I'm going to do this.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And you've been here for Battle of Ideas. So it was
Yes.
fun?
Yeah, I did both yesterday and today.
Oh, they only booked me for yesterday.
No, it was my first time doing it, so yeah, it was really good fun.
Good. And Carey, how you?
I haven't burnt my wig. I haven't done anything. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very proud.
Good. Well, let's answer some questions from our audience. Our first question's from Ryan.
Good evening, everyone. Allegedly, drag queens reading to children is good, but Harry Potter in a pub is bad?
Yes, drag queens reading to children good. Harry Potter in a pub is bad. A pub cancelled its Harry Potter-themed Halloween dinner after staff received abuse over the choice of theme. Management said the event was meant to be light-hearted and had planned to raise money for trans youth. But the backlash made it too divisive. Locals criticised the cancellation as ridiculous, noting that the area's tourism heavily relies on Harry Potter's popularity. So, Ryan, obviously you're an alcoholic, and you read a lot of Harry Potter. You sad about this event being cancelled?
It's just another example, isn't it, of left-wing activists trying to shut down debate in a democratic society. At the end of the day, you know, no one is forcing anyone to go to a Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling event. You know, if you don't like it, don't go. And we've seemed to have just lost that common sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love how the pub was like, oh, we're going to have this Harry Potter, but we're going to give the money to trans kids or something. I mean, it's such a stupid cop-out.
It was, and were they really? I don't know that they were, but how were they going to protest this? Because it's in a remote area, so
Yeah.
how were they actually going to? You have to get there either by boat or it's like an insane hike. So I just could visualise, you know, people in heels trip-tropping all the way through to make a point about, you know, trans rights being human rights. How is this, or is it just pure bullying and intimidation like they do with everything? Because you have to admire. You've got to admire the dedication if they are willing to actually hike or boat all their way through to, you know, hand in heels. Come on.
Hand in heels, yes. Because all women wear high heels.
Of course.
Yeah, I thought the whole J.K. I think the J.K. Rowling's thing is the irony of it all. The woman who writes about witches and the people who want to burn at the stake is just crazy to me. But this is, as you say, it's so remote. You know, a carrier pigeon has brought the word to them. I don't know how they even heard about all this. And they're just. Do you remember when pubs were a place you went to for a bit of raucous fun and you could have a drink and a laugh and not care? And now they're like trauma centres for the staff. Like they've got to ask permission for everything. And this is. It's reached this point where you have to take a hike and you think you're getting away from it.
Yeah.
You know, you think you're getting away from all the madness, but even there, it's still waiting for you when you get there. So, yes, that's the world we're in.
There we go. Our next question is from Carlos.
Is public money for a Queen history of fat
activism money well spent?
Yeah, so is public money for a queer history of fat activism money well spent? The Arts and Humanities Research Council faces criticism for funding PhDs on niche topics such as queer pirates, fat activism and Sleeping Beauty's unageing body. Critics say these taxpayer-funded projects worth over £80,000 each make a mockery of the council's mission to tackle major social challenges. The AHRC defends its grants, arguing that arts and humanities research benefits society and drives the creative economy. So £80,000 to do a PhD on queer fat history, that's easy money, right?
Yeah, I mean, what... You're really contributing to society.
It's a whole book written about Sophie Hagen. Yeah. Sorry, that's a very niche joke there about a comedian.
I knew who you meant.
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't know. I mean, can we think of any equally ludicrous studies that we could... Well, let's just make them up at this point. Let's just make up, I don't know, microaggressions of straight white men and throughout history. I don't know.
I've read that one.
That's out there. That's out there. You can't make one up. We're way beyond that.
That's actually not ridiculous enough, is it?
No, nothing. You can do a pottery course now, and it'll be all about post-colonial structures of pottery and the evil racism that went into pottery. There's no escape.
Porcelain as a white construct.
I'm saying you can't make fun of it. It's beyond making fun of it. They've covered everything. But what we need is a post-colonial studies of post-colonialism, because post-colonial studies are about as colonialist as it gets. It only happens in white countries, you know. So let's get rid of it. Someone needs to do a paper on that, and I will, and I'm going to get paid. I'll get a grant.
80 grand in there.
Yeah, it's spread out. It's spread out like an empire, isn't it, through every single discipline in universities and everywhere. And this story originally, it's about the woman who was cutting the ribbons, isn't it? That she got this grant, and this was the woman who was cutting the ribbons. Did you see the story?
For the hostages.
Cutting the ribbons for the hostages. I don't know whether you can say cutting ribbons. She was de-ribboning them. Is that what we say nowadays? I don't know. We've got to find language around everything. But yeah, which is already, and she believes, or rather her husband believes, that Mossad is onto them. Like Mossad are sitting there going, Hezbollah have now got these massive new weapons, and there's this woman cutting a ribbon in Muswell Hill. We better look into it.
That's it. It was my favourite operation that I've been involved in. So our next question's from Marion.
Good evening. Should the taxpayer buy lipsticks for male criminals?
Should taxpayers buy lipsticks for male criminals? Miss Marion, call everybody. What? She's like the little elf that pops up on GB News in random places.
I should give my wave.
Yes,
I should have walked round the background and just terrified you, Josh.
Absolutely. Well, you wouldn't terrify me at all, because I believe there are only two sexes. Well, look, I'm going to go to the expert. What do you think about this?
Clearly not. And they shouldn't be buying wigs or prosthetics and frilly underwear, which they were actually offering to do in Scotland. So, yeah, absolutely nonsense. Do they do this for the women in the female estate? No, they don't.
No, well, that's it. So, look, let me explain here. Men's prisons are being instructed to provide transgender inmates with makeup, clothing, prosthetics as part of a gender-affirming support. The guidance, including voluntary agreements and pronoun use, has sparked criticism from women's rights groups as absurd and deeply offensive. Prison officials stress that items are purchased by inmates themselves, whilst the transgender prison population continues to rise. So, this is what Mary was just saying, but female prisoners aren't allowed makeup. Yeah. But men pretending that they're women are allowed makeup.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond a joke, isn't it, now? It's just absolutely ridiculous. And where does this, on the spectrum of women's rights, go exactly? Because when you're taking away from women, or you're saying no to women, but all the men can have the women's products, that's fine. And if you complain about the men having the women's products, then you're a bigot. And, you know, in the women's prisons, they'd have to hope that if they're allowed, family members are allowed to, you know, put some money on their accounts. Or
the taxpayer having to fund this.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, the good thing is that at least in Scotland there are no more men in women's prisons. What? Is someone going to be fighting that? I don't know. Anyway,
it is. So I was going to say, it is about the buying it, though, isn't it? Because they can still buy their own makeup from the gift shop. Is it the gift shop you get in prison? I'm not sure. But I come from a time.
I've got to go. I just want to say that I actually sneak a lot of lipsticks at my bottom into prisons.
I thought it was just a rumour.
But that's, just there's nothing to do with giving them out. Next on Free Speech Nation, I spoke.
There is always support for free speech in the abstract, except everybody says, but.
I spoke to free speech heavyweight Nadine Strossen at the Battle of Ideas Festival, where we discussed the biggest shifts she's seen in her free speech over her career, which has spanned decades. It was a discussion that sparked huge disagreement in the audience. Don't go anywhere. See you in 2 minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, an unsettled picture across the central Mediterranean with heavy showers and thunderstorms and some stronger winds, but some sunshine elsewhere, especially for the Canary Islands, parts of Madeira and Spain and Portugal, with a few showers here, longer spells of rain then across parts of the central Mediterranean. Some of the rain is going to be heavy, causing some localised flooding with flashes of lightning as well and some strong winds, but there will be plenty of sunshine in between as well. We still hold on to a few showers though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening, welcome to our latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been quite a damp end to the weekend for many of us, and it's going to stay quite changeable as we head into the new working week as well. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the coming days, weather front spiralling around this area of low pressure. And it's this cold front here that's brought us the rain through much of Sunday. That will continue to push its way northwards as we head through Sunday evening. Some drier conditions at first for a time across the southwest. However, plenty of heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, feeding into the southwest, bringing some strong winds, perhaps some coastal gales here as well. Quite a mild start to the morning as well across the very far southwest, temperatures widely in the double figures, and quite a damp start too across parts of Wales and southwest England, with those heavy blustery showers feeding in and pushing their way north and eastwards through Monday morning. We're likely to see some really quite heavy downpours mixed in here. Some hail and thunder can't be ruled out too. However, for parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, much of Scotland, generally a drier and brighter start to Monday morning. Perhaps a bit of a chillier start too. Temperatures here may be dropping into the low single figures, though the far northeast of Scotland a little bit milder due to that cloud and rain that's still lingering here. That cloud and rain continues to push its way northwards as we go through Monday evening, but it's across much of England and Wales that we'll continue to see those heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, bringing some strong winds too. Parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland faring best in terms of any sunshine through the afternoon, and with lighter winds here feeling pleasantly warm in any sunshine. But even in the south, even though temperatures are above average, it won't be feeling particularly pleasant with those showers. Tuesday starts a bit of a mixed picture. Anywhere that we see clear skies, perhaps a little chillier, some mist and fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Now let's take an exclusive look at my discussions at this year's Battle of Ideas Festival. I was joined by Nadine Strossen, the former president of the ACLU, civil liberties lawyer, professor and author, a renowned free speech advocate. She has defended controversial speakers on campuses and opposed hate speech censorship. In this conversation, we explore her career, the biggest shifts in free speech, and what she might have reconsidered along the way.
Please welcome Nadine Strossen. Thank you. Welcome.
Great to be here.
I go on Wikipedia and you sort of do a bit of research and do a bit of Googling, and your entry just goes on and on and on. I don't think it can be overstated how long you've been involved in the fight for free speech. This is a lifetime struggle for you, right?
It is. Throughout my lifetime, under every single administration, regardless of what the politics are, there is always support for free speech in the abstract, except everybody says, but there is just one exception that I advocate for, the speech that I consider the most dangerous. And the only difference between the right and the left usually is what speech they consider the most dangerous. Sometimes there are odd allies. I remember when Kiera was talking about suppression in the realm of matters having to do with sex, which, by the way, in the United States, we pride ourselves on having the strongest free speech protection in the world. But when it comes to sexual matters, we are extremely prudish and have always supported more censorship than the UK and Europe. But in the 1980s, there was this weird coalition between so-called radical feminists who wanted to censor any what they called pornography that they saw as dehumanizing or degrading toward women, making common cause with the cultural and religious right under Ronald Reagan, who wanted to censor any sexual expression that they saw as undermining traditional family values. And weirdly, they would often agree on suppressing anything that had to do with sex. In my view, how terrible Donald Trump has been on free speech, and Joe Biden was also terrible on free speech, and I could say the same thing about every president. What has changed? You've asked me that, and it is true that the traditional supporters of free speech, on the whole, were more on the left side of the political spectrum. And that has dramatically changed since about 1980. And my European and UK friends say that that's roughly the same is true in Europe as well. With the advent of so-called hate speech laws, animated, as I understand it, by a kind, you use that word, a kind impulse to really be welcoming and inclusive and respectful toward individuals and members of groups that traditionally had been excluded. So it's it comes from a positive impulse, but it ends up doing more harm than good, in particular to anybody who is a member of any minority, because by definition, those who control the levers of censorship are those who are representative of and responsive to the majority. Two other demographic changes that I find perhaps even more striking, somewhat more recent, and that is every survey, and we have many, many surveys in the United States, of people's attitudes toward free speech. The single biggest determinant is age. I'm a okay boomer, as we say in the United States. So the boomers are the most strongly speech protective all across the ideological spectrum. And every decade that you go down, there's less and less support for free speech, including all across the political spectrum. What?
I feel that feels different to
Absolutely.
the 60s or something.
To say the least, where it was traditionally, it was the youth who were advocating for free speech and the older ones that were resisting and more supportive of status quo, and those who were advocating freedom of dissent, freedom of protest, and so forth. The most striking change most recently, Josh, is that institutions, civil society institutions that traditionally have been especially supportive of free speech have become bastions of opposition to free speech, especially, and it overlaps with the point I made a minute ago, especially among the younger cohorts. So starting with academia, where we started to see a real decline in support for free speech, journalism, publishing, the whole entertainment and cultural sector, librarianship, and sadly, even among some human rights and civil liberties organizations.
Well, I was going to say, how do you feel about the organization that you used to run?
At the national level, I continue to be extremely proud of continuing to defend freedom for the thought that we hate, with a great deal of controversy and pushback, including among members. So many people are familiar with the so-called Skokie case in the late 1970s, when the ACLU famously or infamously, depending on your perspective, came to the defense of free speech rights for neo-Nazis to demonstrate in Skokie, Illinois, which not only had a large Jewish population, many of them were Holocaust survivors. And I'm often asked, or told, the ACLU wouldn't do that today. But we did it. We did it exactly 40 years later, a few years ago, in Charlottesville, Virginia. You may remember there was a Unite the Right demonstration, hardly card-carrying lefties who were demonstrating against the takedown of a statue of Confederate leader Robert E. Lee. All the right-wing white supremacist groups from around the country were rallying, and at the last minute, the city of Charlottesville tried to shut them down. Who represented them? The ACLU, and we won that case in court. More recently, in the United States Supreme Court, we directly represented the NRA, the National Rifle Association. Believe me that there are not too many card-carrying members of the ACLU or also card-carrying members of the NRA, be that as it may. But despite a great deal of pushback, we did defend their free speech rights. And let me tell you the facts, because this is a situation and a precedent that is now being used by institutions on the left, including Harvard University and law firms that are challenging the Trump administration's pushback. So I'm very proud of the ACLU's ongoing track record on free speech.
Let's have a big round of applause, please. Very okay. Nadine Strossen, thank you so much.
Next on Free Speech Nation, the EU have unveiled its LGBTQ+ equality strategy, but there's a disturbing push buried in the jargon. I'll tell you about their new plan to come after our children. Don't go anywhere. See you in 2 minutes.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. The European Commission has unveiled its LGBTQ plus equality strategy, claiming to protect and empower communities. But buried in the jargon is a radical push. Brussels wants EU countries to let children legally change their gender with no minimum age. Medical authorities warn such interventions carry serious, irreversible risks and gender distress is often temporary. Yet, Brussels celebrates itself as progressive, leaving vulnerable youngsters caught between ideology and medical reality. I am now joined by Austrian former MP and director of the Athenma Forum, Faika El-Nagashi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Some of the audience may have seen you did a speech at the Athenma Forum which went viral, talking about how the EU has been utterly captured by trans ideology.
Yeah. So I think by now in the EU and also in the Council of Europe, and I want to stress that part also because it's relevant for the UK, it seems that nobody understands what they're saying anymore, especially when it comes to the meaning of sex. So this has been a development that has been going on for the past 15 years or so, that they have changed terminology, and that means that they have changed concepts and they have changed their politics. So it has been a gradual shift at first to replace sex with gender, and then to conflate it with gender identity and also with sexual orientation. And what we see now are, for example, the European Commission presenting an LGBTIQ plus strategy with the Commissioner for Equality who was presenting it, Hajjal Habib, wearing a T-shirt that says, "Protect the love," while she was presenting the most outrageous claims.
That's it, and it sounds like there's not really been much pushback within the EU.
No, because I think, really, as I said, nobody understands what this is about, nobody understands the implications, and also you have a civil society sector that is mainly silent on these issues. So you have the strong trans activist organizations that are doing all the lobbying and are heavily funded by the European Commission to actually do exactly that, to lobby them on these issues. And then the rest of the civil society organizations, they are silent. They fear defamation, reputational damage. They fear to implode internally because of conflict with their member organizations, but they also fear loss of funding.
Yeah, well, that happened in the UK on a sort of on a smaller scale, but pretty much exactly by exactly the same means that you discussed. But then there was this fight back. Women at grassroots managed to push through and finally get the attention of ministers and make the general public aware of these matters. But it sounds like it's more difficult in Brussels to do that.
Yeah, it's quite challenging. Well, one thing is the language. It's not accessible at all. So the knowledge about how these institutions work is rare. And they use academic language, they use activist language, and then they also use this bureaucratic and technocratic language. So it's very difficult to understand what exactly is the strategy. Is it legally binding or not? What is a resolution? What is a recommendation? What is a roadmap? So it's very difficult to get oneself really involved. But it's also difficult for media to report about opposing positions, about criticism, because you don't have the resources to really be impactful. So on one hand, you have a lot of funding. There's dozens of millions of euros that these organizations receive from the European Commission alone. And then you have many philanthropic foundations that also fund them. And on the other hand, you don't have resources for opposing positions. And that makes it very, very difficult.
So self-ID happened very nearly in the UK. It was nearly pushed through. And like I said, at the last minute, enough of alarm was raised to stop it. Has there been this awareness now that it's kind of been pointed out what the implications are? Or is it just still this total sort of omerta silence within the EU institutions, and then this law's going to be passed, and suddenly children can just change their sex/gender at 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old?
So maybe to clarify on this one point, it is not a law, and it's not going to be a law. So then the different member states, they will decide what they will do. But the intention of the European Union is to promote it. And they will promote it by exchanging best practices, for example. So there will be a lot of money around this, a lot of activists coming together with politicians and probably also with different experts from various sectors. And they will promote the best practice of, look at the self-ID law that Malta has, look at the self-ID law that Ireland has. And they will push those countries that not yet have a self-ID law to go in that direction.
So bringing it back to the UK, we had this thing, I don't know if you heard about it, it's called Brexit. And, what are the implications for us? Because we are still tied to Europe via some institutions. Will this have an impact? Because I believe this week there was already signs that they're trying to kind of use the Equality and Human Rights, the European Human Rights Commission to actually change the law in the UK.
Yes, all of this does have an impact on the UK. So you are an island, but in terms of the integration into these European institutions, you're not an island. You're part of the Council of Europe. The Council of Europe has a designated SOGESC unit. So sexual orientation, gender identity and expression and sex characteristics. When they say sex characteristics, they mean intersex people, part of the whole ideology that they have. And this unit is training law enforcement, the judiciary, equality bodies, administration staff throughout the 46 member states of the Council of Europe, and the UK is one of them. So there is much influence going on, and what we call soft law. So not necessarily something that's binding, but something that is being pushed through the various levels of exchange between administrations on the political level also. And it's the EU has made this, and also the Council of Europe, a question of good versus evil and of democracy versus dictatorship. So it's no longer about the issues themselves, and they cannot look at what are the implications, what are the consequences. They just make it's either right or it's wrong.
Yeah, well, and we had similar things, Stonewall in this country, just hashtag no debate.
Yeah.
But when you have it on that kind of scale where it's literally across an entire continent, that is, I think, the danger for us, certainly in the UK, but obviously for children within the EU. Very quickly, just you're a former Green MP in Austria. How has the impact been on your life for speaking up like this?
Yeah, I think you have many examples in the UK that would point towards the impact that I've experienced. So it's been devastating. I've lost a lot. But, I mean, it's the same story over and over again, and we have it unfolding also in Europe. And many of those who have been impacted by this in Europe, they are not known. You don't know their names, they are not famous, they are not celebrated, but we're still here.
All right.
And we keep fighting.
Keep fighting, and good luck with your institution also.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. So, big round of applause, please, for Faika El-Nagashi. That is the end of the first hour of Free Speech Nation. Don't go away because there's lots more to come between now and 9 o'clock, including more audience questions, more battle of ideas, interviews, and whether we're going to discuss the antagonism of wearing a Star of David in public. See you in 2 minutes.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been quite a damp end to the weekend for many of us, and it's going to stay quite changeable as we head into the new working week as well. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the coming days, weather front spiralling around this area of low pressure. And it's this cold front here that's brought us the rain through much of Sunday. That will continue to push its way northwards as we head through Sunday evening. Some drier conditions at first for a time across the southwest. However, plenty of heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, feeding into the southwest, bringing some strong winds, perhaps some coastal gales here as well. Quite a mild start to the morning as well across the very far southwest, temperatures widely in the double figures, and quite a damp start too across parts of Wales and southwest England, with those heavy blustery showers feeding in and pushing their way north and eastwards through Monday morning. We're likely to see some really quite heavy downpours mixed in here. Some hail and thunder can't be ruled out too. However, for parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, much of Scotland, generally a drier and brighter start to Monday morning. Perhaps a bit of a chillier start too. Temperatures here may be dropping into the low single figures, though the far northeast of Scotland a little bit milder due to that cloud and rain that's still lingering here. That cloud and rain continues to push its way northwards as we go through Monday evening, but it's across much of England and Wales that will continue to see those heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, bringing us some strong winds too. Parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland faring best in terms of any sunshine through the afternoon, and with lighter winds here feeling pleasantly warm in any sunshine. But even in the south, even though temperatures are above average, it won't be feeling particularly pleasant with those showers. Tuesday starts a bit of a mixed picture. Anywhere that we see clear skies, perhaps a little chillier, some mist and fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
There is plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week, including...
Citizens are in a state of freefall, and the environment that creates is a real problem for the proliferation of Islamist extremism and indeed all forms of political extremism.
Free Speech Nation has been at the Battle of Ideas Festival. I'll be giving you more access to the discussions that sparked the most debate. Plus...
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry.
Is trans ideology falling out of fashion? And...
What about their legs? They don't need those. Ooh, they look tasty.
Is the Lord of the Rings a metaphor for white supremacy? That's just one of the questions me and my fellow comedians will be answering from our live studio audience. But first, the news with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon, I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom at 8 o'clock. And some breaking news for you. Israel says they're resuming the enforcement of the ceasefire in Gaza following violations from both sides. Israeli military says it's carried out a wave of airstrikes on Gaza after repeated attacks on its troops by Hamas. Israel also blocked the supply of aid into the territory today, but US officials say the crossing will be reopened tomorrow morning. British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has described the escalation in Gaza as deeply concerning and called on all parties to avoid further bloodshed. The French president says everything is being done to recover priceless jewellery stolen from the Louvre in Paris this morning. It's understood 3 or 4 masked men broke through a window and stole 8 pieces from the Apollo Gallery, which contains the French crown jewels, before escaping on motorbikes. One item was found outside the museum, damaged. It's been reported to be the crown of Napoleon III's wife. Emmanuel Macron described the raid, which took less than 4 minutes, as an attack on the country's heritage. The Metropolitan Police says it's actively looking into a claim that Prince Andrew asked a close protection officer to investigate Virginia Giuffre before she accused him of sexual abuse. 2 newspapers are reporting that he asked his bodyguard to dig up dirt for a smear campaign shortly before a photograph of the pair with Ghislaine Maxwell was published in 2011. Andrew gave up his remaining royal titles and honours on Friday over his association with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but Andrew denies all the allegations against him. The government is promising to create 400,000 new jobs by the end of the decade by training and recruiting workers for the clean energy sector. Ministers say plumbers, electricians and welders are among the occupations in demand, and North Sea oil and gas workers will be able to access support to help them transition into the sector. And hundreds have turned out for the funeral of the cricket umpire Dickie Bird in his hometown of Barnsley. He died last month at the age of 92. Former England and Yorkshire cricketer Sir Geoffrey Boycott read out his eulogy for his friend of almost 70 years, describing him as the best umpire in the world and very, very special. And Michael Vaughan says he brought so much joy to the sport.
I mean, I remember as a young player just having times of difficulty, not scoring too many runs. I might get 10 or a 12 and he said, "Oh, you're playing great." He'd always tell you that you were playing great. So he had a positive kind of influence on everybody, and obviously that little seat that he has at Headingley, it's going to be void, but we'll give him a great send-off today.
You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. My comedian guests this evening are Intel Lady and Carey Marx. Right, we get some more questions from our audience, and our first question is from Edward.
Hi. Is the Lord of the Rings a metaphor for white supremacy?
Yes. No. Is the Lord of the Rings... I sound Lord of the Rings. Ross said, Lord of the Rings a metaphor for white supremacy? Yeah, have you read Lord of the Rings? Actually, I know, Ed, you've read it many times.
I've been too busy reading Andrew Doyle's books to read Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow, OK. He's not here anymore. You don't have to suck up to him. This is the University of Nottingham teaching a module claiming that Tolkien's Lord of the Rings depicts people of colour negatively through orcs and Eastern races. The course, led by Dr. Onyeka Nubia, frames these portrayals as part of a broader tradition of ethnic chauvinism in Western literature. Students are expected to critically engage with these interpretations, examine racial issues and other classics, including The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and Shakespeare. Carey!
Yes?
I'm imagining it. I mean, I know you used to be a magician, so I know that you spent a lot of time reading Lord of the Rings when you were growing up.
I've never read Lord of the Rings, but I'm embarrassed by it. I thought it was a book, or a trilogy, a fantasy trilogy about war and friendship, but it turns out I'm not right at all. It's pure evil, every bit of it. Everything everyone's doing is evil.
You want to read it. Now
all these people are evil. Look at the way they're dressed, it's colonialist stuff and so on. It's horrible. And I don't know do you know what I think we got wrong? I think we got rid of insane asylums where we used to put people in straitjackets, and instead they're all out now and they're looking through all fiction and everything they can. They're like bird spotters of oppression, you know. Oh, I found a little bit of oppression here, and they'll find it in absolutely everything. There's no escape anymore. I think it started with trigger warnings, and they ran out, and then they looked for things that we could be triggered by. So we're in a never-ending spiral now. Soon we'll drop all subjects, and we'll only be able to talk about, say, cotton wool bud. And it'll be every one of the ones in multicoloured packs, otherwise we'll be still evil. And then someone will say it's fat shaming. So that's where we're at. That's where we're going.
I'm not sure about that cotton bud analogy, if I'm honest with you. Sorry, is that evil as well?
No, I'm saying the end result. I was just being ridiculous.
Oh, I see.
But you took me seriously, and you thought...
That's always my problem.
You thought I'm actually predicting a future where people only talk about cotton buds. But then cut from now to 20 years in the future where people are only talking about cotton buds, and you will suck it, mate. You'll be like, well, I was wrong.
We'll wait for that 20 years. So, Intel Lady, have you watched Lord of the Rings? Because if you watch the film, they're kind of bluish.
And who said that those characters were based on people of colour?
Well, no, that's the thing, is that if you look at these characters and somehow see people of colour, I would argue the problem is you.
Who's the racist?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
So who started that? Was it the people who wrote it or the people that watched it and made an assumption? It's very... You could trip yourself up with that. So I think it's so I think that will backfire on them completely. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But everything is offensive and everything...
Except cotton buds. Cotton buds, safe.
Yes, so far.
Only multicoloured packs.
Yeah. GB News has approached the University of Nottingham and Dr. Onyeka for comment. I look forward to reading that paper. Our next question is from Jeff.
Good evening. I'd just like to say how honoured we are to have our Ange representing us Labours.
Thanks very much. I don't get out much these days.
Really? So. How's life in Hove? How's life in Hove?
So it's pretty quiet at the moment, I'll be honest. I've been laying low.
You've been on the dinghy recently? You've been on the dinghy?
No, not in this weather. No way.
Well, I thought your vaping might help you.
Everyone's obsessed with the vaping. That's all you ever ask about. How much
If anybody hasn't seen that comedy sketch, by the way, viewers have...
No idea what's going on.
Just suddenly speaking
got multiple personalities. Sorry, yes. We should have
Anyway, it's lovely to have you here. We're very honoured.
Thank you.
And you're giving your resignation speech. on
resignation speech
We-
this week. Can't wait.
We shall watch that.
She's got very many. She's got lots of new characters, by the way. She's portraying an orc.
Are you doing Lego Bobhead? What's the name?
Which one? I mean, there's several.
Hair by Lego.
Bridget. I've done Bridget.
You've done Bridget.
And
you've done Rachel.
He's actually,
I have done Rachel.
I've got to be honest with you, Jeff. You're actually scaring me now.
I'm sorry, I've got off script.
Someone's in love. It's a wonderful thing to see.
My question was, can the BBC be trusted to report from Gaza daily?
No, there we go.
No, it's quite simple.
Thank you, Ange.
You're welcome, Marcus.
So Ofcom ruled that the BBC breached broadcasting rules by airing a Gaza documentary narrated by a 13-year-old with links to Hamas. The watchdog said the failure to disclose the narrator's background was materially misleading and could erode public trust. The BBC has accepted the ruling, apologised, and will broadcast an admission of its failings on prime time telly. So, yes, Intel, you're very adamant there. No, it's a no from me.
I think they've been great. No, it's so much of it, and it's not just they used the son of a Hamas member and didn't even disclose it, but also some of the translations they had. You have someone in the film say something like, "I'm going to kill all the Jews," and then they translate it as, "I'm going to tell Israelis off." You know, it was that kind of thing, wasn't it, throughout? Yeah. And also, but you see what's also happening recently, where we've seen this exchange of prisoners from Israel, hundreds of prisoners being released for the hostages. And the BBC are reporting it as this poor man who's been in prison for 20 years, and then you look him up on the internet, he's like, he blew up a bus.
Yeah.
You know? I think you forgot to mention that bit. So, yeah, and I think it's been horrendous.
Well, they apologised recently for describing October 7th as an escalation.
Yes, that's right, yeah. But then that was described as when the war went to Hezbollah. Hezbollah had been bombing Israel for 11 months at that point, with the BBC hardly even referring to it. And then suddenly it's an escalation. So, yeah, it's on brand. And I think it's unfortunate. I hope they sort themselves out.
Yes, now that the war's over. A BBC spokesman said the Ofcom ruling is in line with the findings of Peter Johnston's review, that there was a significant failing in the documentary in relation to the BBC's editorial guidelines on accuracy, which reflects Rule 2.2 of Ofcom's Broadcasting Code. We have apologised for this. We accept Ofcom's decision in full. We will comply with the sanction as soon as the date and wording are finalised. Our next question is from Jonathan.
Good evening. Is debanking an issue across the political divide?
Yeah, is debanking an issue across the political divide? A retired British couple active in pro-Palestine campaigning had their joint savings account with the Yorkshire Building Society closed without explanation. John Nicholson and Norma Turner say they have no financial or criminal issues and suspect the closure is linked to their activism. The move follows a wider pattern of banks freezing accounts connected to pro-Palestine groups after Palestine Action was proscribed. So, this is an interesting one. We obviously saw Nigel Farage's accounts being frozen. This whole debanking phenomenon is incredibly chilling. This, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum or what you believe in or not, debanking is not good. I think you would agree with that.
I totally agree with that, yeah. I mean, what happened to Farage is a real eye-opener, but I don't believe anybody should be debanked for political views or anything else, unless it's funding terrorism or something.
Well, this is it, exactly. So, Carey, looking into it a little bit further, if it is anything to do with their political ideology, which I am, very much against, and I disagree with them on this stuff, but it seems like there might be some deeper connections because one of them's the treasurer of this activist group, and of course it was just after Palestine Action, which now have, whether you agree with it or not, they have been labelled or classified as a terrorist organisation. So if any of that money, I know another activist group had like a link saying donating to Palestine Action. Well, that is of course illegal. So that would suggest there might be something more to this, possibly.
Yeah, there could be, but the bank hasn't disclosed or given any clues. So they might be embarrassed. They might not be able to say what it is. They might see that there's a load of Hamas. People don't realise Hamas have got like billions in shell companies all over Europe. So there is money floating around that's suspicious. But they haven't said that. And I'm totally, I'm with you. I'm against, on principle, I'm totally against debanking. I think it's really bad, even though it is a bit funny in this situation. Because when you've got people who've been for ages shouting boycott and defund, and then it happens to them. Ha ha, live by the boycott, comes back at you.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It's chilling, I think, as on this, reading this story, what happened to them?
No one should be debanked across the board for having any political opinions. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Doesn't matter how many times they bathe a week.
It doesn't matter how ridiculous they are or what they say in particular. They shouldn't be debanked. It's none of the bank's business or the state's business. They need to stay out of. That's our private stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if there's more to it, and they have been funding terrorism, then obviously, absolutely. But that's a police matter.
Yeah.
But not a bank.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, look, I disagree on principle, although I don't have any money, so it doesn't really affect me anyway. A spokesperson for IBS said, "We never close saving accounts based on different opinions or beliefs. Accounts are closed only in very rare circumstances with decisions made on the basis of specific facts of the case." Now, our final question is from Anton.
Well, is Labour banning birthdays?
Yeah, our Labour banning birthdays. By the way, a happy birthday for tomorrow. Labour-backed guidance advises nurseries and primary schools to replace birthday cakes with fruit or non-edible treats to promote healthy eating. Parents and politicians have criticised the move as a nanny state overreach that spoils children's celebrations. Schools across the UK are now banning cakes, offering alternatives such as books, games or classroom activities instead. Interesting reaction from our audience here. They might not have heard it at home, but of all of the stories that we've talked about, this created the biggest murmur. Birthday cakes!
Don't come for the cakes.
Yeah, don't take cake. Well, come on, the children. Are they not allowed to have just a little bit of naughtiness, a little bit of a treat, a little bit of something to celebrate? It's one day. It's not every single. It's one day.
Yeah, well, it's one day for one kid. It's 30.
And then I know. Then
so maybe. Well, what do you think, Carey? Just ban it for the fat kids?
We're always going after fat kids. You know, we never win. They eat everything we throw at them. But look, in my day, we brought in whiskey and fags to school at that age. It's something it's ridiculous. But it's also it's very short-sighted. If I was the Prime Minister right now, I'd be giving them bigger cakes with Labour written on it and try and win some votes. They're not going to vote for Labour. It's like Labour's become reverse Father Christmas, sort of creeping up and stealing their sweets. Horrible.
Yeah, and also I mean, replacing it with a book, which they do at my kids' school as well. You give a book on the kid's birthday. What I'm going to do is one of my kids' next birthday, I'm going to give them the school a book, but it's going to be about cakes. There's another thing, another story that's slightly connected, where I think 9,000 children, our primary school children, they've banned parents attending sports days.
See what triggers this audience.
Yeah. Children self-identifying as the opposite sex. Totally fine with this audience. Talk about sports days and they kick off. Yeah, this is another move of the nanny state.
It's a parent's right to stand and watch their child at sports day and encourage them and yell and you know, get overexcited about something while their child's falling over themselves and, you know, it's part of being a parent. It's part of sports day. It's, you know, I hate
it's great. No, it's crazy. I mean, look, Carey, I love going to the sports day. I love shouting at my kids, like, if you don't win, you're not having dinner.
You've got to stop going to the ones at other schools, though. Don't go stick to your own, Josh. Yeah, it's silly. I think part of the sports day thing is the kid waving at their parents and look at me and what I'm doing, isn't it? But and also I think it's a failure of the schools if they can't tell a parent off and say don't run over there or run across the line or whatever. Then that's pathetic. So.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on it.
Fair enough. Right, next on Free Speech Nation, as a Jewish lawyer accuses the Met Police of arresting him partly for wearing a Star of David, and with Jewish football fans banned for their own safety, are the police capitulating to racists rather than upholding the law? See you in 2 minutes.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. A Jewish lawyer is accusing the Met Police of arresting him for wearing a Star of David necklace at a pro-Palestine protest. The man claims he was arrested because his necklace antagonised protesters. The Met Police deny the allegations, adding that he was arrested for allegedly breaching a Public Order Act. This all comes as the Jewish community expresses concerns over the rise of anti-Semitism across the UK, and a story where Jewish football fans are not going to be allowed to attend an Aston Villa match in Birmingham. Joining me now to discuss all of this is the journalist Nicole Lampert. Nicole, welcome. This is...
As you can see, I'm
wearing it
antagonistic.
Yes, it's a very beautiful... Mine's
Yes.
here, like, I'm trying to...
Please don't arrest me.
I can't, I need to get my Star of David out. Oh, OK, there we go. This is, without getting too much into the case, because it is an ongoing case, and I understand that the police have very stringently said it's not because he was wearing a Star of David, but we've seen in the video that it was brought up as one of the reasons or whatnot. But this also ties into what we saw with Gideon Fulter. He's the Gideon Fulter. He's the he runs campaign against anti-Semitism. There's some footage of him from about a year ago. He was wearing a yarmulke, walking through central London, and again the police in this case removed him from pro-Palestinian protesters. Not for his sort of own safety, but sort of saying that he was antagonising them just by being a Jew.
Yeah. So what we see is a kind of threat. They're frightened of the threat of violence from the other side. So we've also seen it with Nayat Ghobani, the Iranian, who is not part of the official the other protests, the counter-protesters, and every time he puts up a sign saying Hamas are terrorists, he's arrested. So this is what... And even Peter Tatchell, he was arrested for having a sign saying Hamas are terrorists, even though he's pro-Palestinian. So what we've seen is that they are so frightened of the kind of threat of violence from the other side that's one of the reasons that people are being arrested. So I'm not going to go too deep into the case because obviously proceedings are active. But what the kind of background is that because the police haven't been seen to be doing their jobs in policing those demonstrations that many would call hate marches, then there are independent legal advisors filming them, and that's what happened. And just, you know, and so just being there, looking Jewish and filming them is one of the problems.
And the reason why there are people who do that is because there have been a lot of instances of just outright anti-Semitism, which the police seem to turn a blind eye to.
Yeah, there was a famous incident where there was a swastika and someone saying, there's a swastika there. And the police is like, well, you know, sometimes it's not offensive. It's like, it's at an anti-Israel demonstration and it's a swastika. And she's having this like half an hour row with him trying to explain why a Nazi symbol might be deemed both offensive and racially harmful.
So what we saw also this week was West Midlands Police saying that the football match, or football fans from Israel, supporters of Maccabi Tel Aviv, will not be allowed to attend the match. Yeah. And now they're saying it's for their own safety. Now, of course, this has been misrepresented online as kind of like it's to prevent the football fans attacking or going. But surely that's a moment where the police would go, actually, our job is to protect these football fans from wherever they are in the world, from whatever ethnicity they are, and protect them against the violent mobs who might attack them. By the way, we're not talking about Aston Villa fans or anything like that. We're talking about the locals in Birmingham who seem to have a problem with Jews coming to their city.
Yeah, so we've seen it being riled up by one of the independent MPs, so one of the MPs for Gaza, who was pushing a protest on this, pushing for them not to be allowed to happen. And it's part of the kind of global movement, not just for this game, but to try and get Israeli teams taken out of football, taken out of the Eurovision and all of that. So that's one of the things, and trying to just basically boycott Israel altogether. And then the fact I suppose they're basically saying, you can't come to our manor, you can't come here. And implicit in that is the threats and the bullying, and it feels like the police have been kind of bullied into submission, into saying, we can't protect you, and that's very frightening. Yeah. So on one hand, they're arresting someone partly, as we know, because he looks Jewish, and they're worried about the effect that's going to have on public order. And then on the other hand, we're also saying, just don't come to this area. Yeah. So does that mean that there are now going to be no-go areas for Jews?
Allegedly, I should say. But yes, in that case. Well, that's it. No-go area for Jews. Now, I was out drinking with some friends when I saw this story kick off, and it made me very angry. Yeah. And I was just like, I'm going anyway. Yeah. I don't care. And I don't know anything about football, so now I'm sort of having to learn about the offside rule and get a even bigger Star of David. I need to get a big one. This isn't big enough because it feels like that's the only way to push back against this is to. As a statement, is to say, look, I'm a Jew and I'm going to go to the city. I've been to Birmingham loads. I've performed there loads of times. It's a great city. Glee Comedy Club is a great comedy club. Yeah. The idea that now it's not a safe space somehow, that is terrifying. Yeah.
So obviously it's going to be discussed again tomorrow by the government, and I think that people across the political spectrum, well, mostly, have said this is outrageous and are recognising that we can't give in to threats of violence, which is effectively what it is. But
so you have the police, like you say, they're just capitulating to a mob, and we've seen it through these marches. We're seeing it now. And the police have a job to do, which is to protect the citizens of this country, not just to remove the people who might be antagonising or provocative just because of their ethnicity. Their job is to protect everybody.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of... there are 80,000 people from Israel that live in this country, so there'll be a lot of them that will be supporters. So it's not even people coming from Israel, plus they're just Jewish people that support Maccabi Tel Aviv. So there'll be people that want to go, but are they also saying to us, British Jews, if we want to go and support Maccabi Tel Aviv, are you saying that we can't come? Are you saying that you and I, are we hooligans?
Yeah. And I want to just also quickly mention that a news story that came out today was part of this recommendation about why the fans have been banned, Jewish football fans have been banned, comes from a report written by an actual, Islamist terrorist. Yeah. This guy, he was a member of Hezbollah. He's written the most outrageously disgusting anti-Semitic things on his site. He's proud of it. He says, I'm proud to be called a terrorist. Yeah. And he's one of the people who actually is submitted evidence to this report, which is why the police have banned Jews, essentially.
Well, he runs a foundation, I don't know how I'm saying it correctly, a Hind Rajab Foundation, Association. And what they have been doing is they have been trying to get Israelis thrown out of European countries. And they have managed to get Israelis even arrested. I think it was in Belgium where they were arrested for being parts of the IDF. So they're trying to almost, not only banish us Israelis from football, but just almost rid Europe of any Israeli presence.
Which is a wider movement, just erasing Jews from public life, which
exactly.
we've seen over the last couple.
And we've seen that with not just Israelis, but, for example, David Drayman, who's a musician, he had a concert being banned in Brussels, and there's a move to get him cancelled in this country as well.
Yeah, well, you know what has been the sort of silver lining is that putting out that response online, people have been very supportive, Jews and particularly non-Jews.
Yeah.
So, British people, I believe, are fair. The silent majority recognises this as prejudice. We don't want a country where an ethnicity is somehow put in and ghettoised, which is what this means, and have want to stand with Jews and want to attend. So they're talking about rescinding this order and making the fans allowed. Either way, I'm certainly going to be there, and I hope other people will join us and tell me what offside means. So, GB News contacted the Hinge Rajab Foundation for comment, but is still awaiting reply. A Met police spokesman said the claim that this man was arrested for wearing a Star of David necklace is not true. He was arrested for allegedly breaching Public Order Act conditions that were in place to keep opposing protest groups apart. When he failed to do so after multiple warnings, he was arrested, and Aston Villa has said on their website the club are in continuous dialogue with the Maccabi Tel Aviv and the local authorities throughout this ongoing process, with the safety of supporters attending the match and the safety of local residents at the forefront of any discussion. So, next on Free Speech Nation.
Prisons are in a state of freefall, and the environment that creates is a real problem for the proliferation of Islamist extremism and indeed all forms of political extremism.
Does prison increase the threat of Islamist extremism? Stay tuned to see another thought-provoking discussion at this weekend's Battle of Ideas Festival. Before we go to break, another round of applause, please, for Nicole Lampert. Thank you.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello. Well, an unsettled picture across the central Mediterranean with heavy showers and thunderstorms and some stronger winds, but some sunshine elsewhere, especially for the Canary Islands, parts of Madeira and Spain and Portugal, with a few showers here, longer spells of rain then across parts of the central Mediterranean. Some of the rain is going to be heavy, causing some localised flooding with flashes of lightning as well and some strong winds, but there will be plenty of sunshine in between as well. We still hold on to a few showers though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been quite a damp end to the weekend for many of us, and it's going to stay quite changeable as we head into the new working week as well. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the coming days, weather front spiralling around this area of low pressure. And it's this cold front here that's brought us the rain through much of Sunday. That will continue to push its way northwards as we head through Sunday evening. Some drier conditions at first for a time across the southwest. However, plenty of heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, feeding into the southwest, bringing some strong winds, perhaps some coastal gales here as well. Quite a mild start to the morning as well across the very far southwest, temperatures widely in the double figures, and quite a damp start too across parts of Wales and southwest England, with those heavy blustery showers feeding in and pushing their way north and eastwards through Monday morning. We're likely to see some really quite heavy downpours mixed in here. Some hail and thunder can't be ruled out too. However, for parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, much of Scotland, generally a drier and brighter start to Monday morning. Perhaps a bit of a chillier start too. Temperatures here may be dropping into the low single figures, though the far northeast of Scotland a little bit milder due to that cloud and rain that's still lingering here. That cloud and rain continues to push its way northwards as we go through Monday evening, but it's across much of England and Wales that will continue to see those heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, bringing us some strong winds too. Parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland faring best in terms of any sunshine through the afternoon, and with lighter winds here feeling pleasantly warm in any sunshine. But even in the south, even though temperatures are above average, it won't be feeling particularly pleasant with those showers. Tuesday starts a bit of a mixed picture. Anywhere that we see clear skies, perhaps a little chillier, some mist and fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Now it's time for another one of my discussions at this year's Battle of Ideas Festival, where I sat down one of the former head of security at HMP Wandsworth, Professor Ian Acheson. We had a very interesting discussion on whether prison increases the threat of Islamist extremism. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Ian Acheson. Ian, is there a problem in our prisons as we stand?
Anybody that's got eyes in their head, that's been watching over the last 10 or 15 years, has seen that by every metric of stability, decency, safety, prisons are in a state of freefall. And the environment that creates is a real problem for the proliferation of Islamist extremism and indeed all forms of political extremism in prisons, because it controls power and space. It's not simply a problem. The radicalisation of prisoners is not simply a problem for prison staff. I used to be a prison officer, frontline officer. I'm very passionate about protecting them because they are the people that work on our behalf every day, men and women, protected at the moment by a stab-proof clip-on tie, basically, and a tin of Hertie spray and some handcuffs. And they are at risk, as you will have seen. Over the last number of months, there have been horrific incidents of attacks by Islamists. So what you need to think about is what has created that environment of impunity where a relatively small number of people, there's only about 260 terrorist act prisoners banged up in our prisons. Why have those people have such a disproportionate grip on safety and security and power across the system? And the key reason is because the state has surrendered order and control in these areas, and it's surrendered order and control largely to criminal cartels that control drugs going into prison. And drugs are an absolute scourge. They are a poison, but they're also an opportunity for bad guys to get involved in the dealing, in the exploitation of people. And if you've got an environment where you go in as a young man, maybe a young man who's going to serve a long sentence for a crime of extreme violence, and you go into that environment and you are destabilised at the minute, you're probably emotionally very immature, you've got poor impulse control, you're capable of extreme violence, and you go into that environment, you're going to be searching immediately, I don't care who you are, for safety and perhaps for meaning. And those are exactly the people who get exploited by Islamists, and it will be by other people who kill for ideas. But if we're not careful in terms of how we deal with the predominant threat, which is Islamist expansionism inside our prisons through gangs and so on, we will get an equal and opposite reaction perfectly rationally from people who've been imprisoned for extreme right-wing offences. And then we are in a very dangerous position. If you have an environment where nobody is quite sure who is in charge, then you are going to have rehabilitation is just knocked for six. You have people who are oppositionally inclined towards the state, who don't believe that they have been rightfully imprisoned in terms of Islamist extremists who believe that they have divine permission to kill. Some of those people are thwarted jihadists, and they will want to carry out to the fullest extent what they believe is their religious duty. If I was an Islamist terrorist in a high-security prison at the moment, and they have been, rocked by scandals and disorders, they've got, denuded, fearful, demoralised staff. Sky News, I don't know if you saw it, a few days ago, did an expose that showed drones that were described like a shower of wasps hovering above high-security prisons, delivering contraband to sell windows. What those drones are doing is they're delivering drugs predominantly into the prison, which destroys rehabilitation, because drugs cause debt and they cause competition, and those two things drive the relentless violence that you're seeing in prisons. But if you can get a drone with payloads now of 6 or 7 kilograms to deliver, a pile of mobile phones and a load of coke, you can definitely get them to deliver arms and ammunition. And the prospect there is utterly unthinkable, but it is actually a real prospect. So, you've got this environment at the moment, and I don't see, and it was 10 years since I did my government review of Islamist extremism. I made a load of recommendations. Just as a comic aside, one of the recommendations that was not accepted by the prison service was that there should be an independent advisor on counter-terrorism to ministers, because I wasn't sure at all information was getting through to ministers about the true extent of the problem. And apparently, according to a report in the Times, that recommendation was specifically turned down by officials because they thought it would be me. So never underestimate the mendacity of the administrative machine, believe me.
I mean, is the problem, is it resources? Is it the ideology that they're just not willing to confront this? What do you think is going to actually make a difference?
To be honest with you, I mean, to use Dominic Cummings' phrase, I fear that we're somewhere over the event horizon, and it will only take something like a mass escape or a terrorist incident that results in deaths of prison officers in order to make things change. The huge amount of things need to be done and can be done, but they require leadership and will. There is no leadership that is capable of confronting the problem of violent extremism in prisons at the moment. And we are manufacturing people who will be tomorrow's terrorists, not inside the prisons, but when they leave. We're not doing anything about that because there's a whole generation of senior officials now who are completely marinated in progressive thoughts that's more about to do with appeasement and the rights of prisoners than it is to do with the rights of the rest of us. I'm sorry to be blunt, but that's the truth.
No, that's the way it is in the rest of society. Right, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause, please, for Professor Ian Acheson.
Next on Free Speech Nation.
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry.
Is trans ideology falling out of fashion? We're going to be discussing that next. See you in 2 minutes.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Nana Akweer. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I think solo travel can be really enriching. I think it helps build so many different skills. You have to problem solve, navigate different social interactions. It can be great for building confidence, mental health, resilience, and the interactions you have with people tend to be richer when you're traveling on your own. So I'm all for it. I think it can really help reset the mind and give you that confidence boost for sure.
70% of solo travellers are women. Why do you think that is?
I think in general, post-pandemic, we have seen people prioritising travel. I think because it was taken away from us and restricted for quite a long time, we've seen this general overall trend that people are prioritising travel, spending more on travel. And I think women in particular, in general, we do tend to get pulled in so many different directions. If you're a working mother and a partner, our lives are so hectic, and solo travel, I guess, for women just gives them a chance to have a little bit of a breather, have a little bit of an escape, recharge, and hopefully come back after their trip, you know, in a healthier, more refreshed mindset.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Actress Kiera Knightley was asked about J.K. Rowling and her row with trans activists. Here's what she said.
Saw you're voicing Professor Umbridge in the new Harry Potter audiobooks. I was wondering, are you aware that some fans are calling for a boycott, given J.K. Rowling's ongoing campaign against trans people?
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry. You know, I think we're all living in a period of time right now. We're all going to have to figure out how to live together, aren't we? And we've all got very different opinions. So I hope that we can all find respect.
So is trans ideology losing its hold on popular culture? I'm now joined by the American attorney and writer, Carey Dansky. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Normally you see you're American, you visit us from that big screen behind you, but here you are in the flesh, you're over here for the Battle of Ideas, and you're wearing a wonderful T-shirt. I guess your answer would be very simple if you were asked about J.K. Rowling.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy to be here, and I loved Keira Knightley's response.
I part of me wishes she'd, I'm just nitpicking, but it's like, I wish she'd just said, actually, there's no issue whatsoever. She's never said anything that's transphobic. But look, that's a big step still for her, the way she kind of dealt with it. She did deal with it very gracefully, and she's received a lot of hate for it.
Yeah, which tells me that she did a very good thing.
Yes.
Right? I feel like her approach to it, I understand the criticism. A lot of people wanted her to go a lot further, but I actually think her approach to it gives people permission to just treat this whole nonsensical issue as it should be treated, which is, I mean, it's a very serious issue, and we can talk about that, but I kind of like that she was just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's it. When that was my initial feeling was that, and then the more I read that kind of opinion, I was like, actually, she dealt with it very, very gracefully and very cleverly, really. Yeah. This also coincides with a report this week that people identify as trans has gone down quite considerably over the last year or so, suggesting what people said all along, certainly things like the Cass report, this is a social contagion, i.e. a fashion.
So I've read conflicting things about that. I saw that announcement as well, and then I read some criticism to the effect that that maybe the results were being overblown, that maybe it's not quite as much of a cause for celebration as some of us would like. However, I am not a data person, and so I did not get into that. But no, I saw that too. I thought that was very interesting. And if it's true, it's very good news. And as you say, it shows exactly what people have been saying this whole time, that it was a social contagion, is.
So obviously you're visiting over from the UK, from America to the UK. I mean, would you wear that T-shirt in America?
I probably would at this point. I mean, I try not to make...
Would you wear it to Aston Villa match? That's a joke. It's a callback. But yeah.
I try not to draw too much attention to myself where I live, because I'm not, you know, I have to worry about my safety and all of those kinds of things. So I probably wouldn't. But, you know, none of that keeps me from saying any of the things that I say. And I will also say, being at the Battle of Ideas was unbelievably refreshing as an opportunity to engage in free speech and respectful disagreement. And, you know, it was just such a breath of fresh air.
Well, we talked yesterday at the Battle of Ideas, which was fantastic, and one of the points that which resonated a lot was how different everything is, what we kind of turfing in the USA and turfing in the UK, and you made some really interesting points, if you wouldn't mind repeating them.
I think a lot of it has to do with 2018, which was the year when the UK government introduced proposed reforms to the Gender Recognition Act. And I think that played a role in really helping UK TERFs in two ways. One is which it was just a flashpoint. It was a major flashpoint where women across the country were like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this thing called self-ID? And what do you mean we've been letting people legally change sex since 2004? That's crazy. And so that really energized a lot of women here, and men, but mostly women here. And the other thing that has been pointed out to me is that it was the Conservative government that introduced the proposed reform in 2018, which meant that when there was pushback from leftist feminists, they didn't get accused of being co-opted by the right, which is a problem those of us who turf in America definitely have.
Well, that's it. The people who are pushing trans ideology, what they sort of go is, oh, you're a far-right Nazi. And when it comes from the other way around, of course, now you have a background very much in left-wing politics. What's been the reaction from your own side? Even though I'd argue, of course, this isn't a left-right issue at all.
Right. I mean, so I had an entire 20-year career in criminal law and criminal justice, including 2 years at the ACLU. And that all came to a crashing halt in 2019 when my then employer, which wasn't the ACLU, it was a different agency, learned that I had been saying this stuff in public because some people just started relentlessly emailing my boss complaints. This was a criminal justice agency. It had nothing to do with sex and gender, but people were emailing my boss and saying, why do you have a TERF working there? And she didn't really understand. She doesn't really understand the whole issue. She was confused. Nonetheless, every time that happened, she had to come to me and we had to have a whole discussion about it. And it just became a huge distraction from the work of the agency. So at the end of 2019, I realized that I could either shut up and keep my job, or I can keep fighting for women and girls as a sex class and quit my job. So that's what I did.
And you talked about the flashpoint over here in 2018. What do you think the flashpoint was in America then? Because there has been a huge shift in America, and arguably it's happened a lot quicker as well.
Yeah, so I give Will Thomas credit for that.
Some people know him, her as Leah Thomas.
Sure. So those of us who have been fighting this, for some of us for 10 years.
By the way, please, TERFs, don't message me like, him, her, or whatever, just because that's what I'm going to get. The ultras love me, but...
So those of us who have been fighting this since around 2015, which is when I started fighting for this, we have felt very lonely. And we have filed all of our legal briefs, and we've done this and that, and we've tried to grow our organizations, but it's been pretty lonely. And then things started changing, but Leah Will Thomas really did change a lot, because sort of America kind of woke up and said, like, what is going on?
Photographic evidence. It was just right there on the podium.
There. And,
that's a big man.
Yes.
Okay, ultras.
And there's this woman named Kim Jones whose daughter was playing, not at Penn, or swimming, excuse me. Her daughter was swimming at a different Ivy League school. And she learned that her daughter was going to be competing against this person called Leah Thomas. And she thought, well, who is that? I've never heard of a Leah Thomas. So she did some digging and she learned about it. She couldn't believe it. She eventually found me and we had a chat, and she's now co-chair of the group Independent Council for Women's Sports, or the group Icons. So yeah, Leah Will Thomas really did us all a huge favor.
And then the other thing that we talked about was this image where you had Trump 8 years ago, sort of very, I won't repeat some of his comments about women, but then 8 years later he gets to present himself as the kind of the protector of women, with women surrounding him as he signed in a bill saying that men shouldn't be competing against women.
Yeah, I mean, I just honestly think the Democrats handed this election to him. Right? I mean, I have been imploring Democrats in party leadership for years to knock it off, to say something even slightly sensible. Some people might realize that I published a book in 2023 called The Reckoning: How the Democrats and the Left Betrayed Women and Girls. That was to warn the Democrats of exactly what was coming in 2024 if they didn't change course. In the summer of 2024, I issued a public letter to Kamala Harris, who I have met on 3 occasions and worked very closely with her sister Maya. And I said, can you please get up at the DNC and just say that a woman is an adult human female?
No.
Of course, she did not do that, and I didn't expect her to.
Well, very quickly, what's the future then for the Democrats? Are they going to finally learn the lesson, or is they just going to repeat the same mistake?
So I have just about zero hope for the people who are currently in leadership positions in the Democratic Party at the federal level. Because if they were going to change course, they would have earlier this year when we talked about the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. However, there are many Democrats at the state level who are doing the right thing by voting to protect women's sports in their states, voting to protect minors from harmful hormones and surgeries, and they're taking the heat, but they're doing it right. So it's not that I've abandoned all hope for the Democratic Party. I'm still a registered Democrat. I just think we need to get rid of all the people in leadership at the federal level.
OK, fair enough. We'll see if that happens. Anyway, thank you very much to the American attorney and writer, Carey Dansky. And thank you for joining us for Free Speech Nation. Thank you to all my panel and to all of my brilliant guests this evening, also to our live audience. And thank you. And if you want to join us in the studio, be part of our wonderful audience, you can go to gbnews.com/tickets. Stay tuned for the brilliant Alex Armstrong tonight. See you next week. Thank you for joining us.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Vox Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to our latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been quite a damp end to the weekend for many of us, and it's going to stay quite changeable as we head into the new working week as well. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the coming days. Weather front spiralling around this area of low pressure. And it's this cold front here that's brought us the rain through much of Sunday. That will continue to push its way northwards as we head through Sunday evening. Some drier conditions at first for a time across the southwest. However, plenty of heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, feeding into the southwest, bringing some strong winds, perhaps some coastal gales here as well. Quite a mild start to the morning as well across the very far southwest, temperatures widely in the double figures, and quite a damp start too across parts of Wales and southwest England, with those heavy blustery showers feeding in and pushing their way north and eastwards through Monday morning. We're likely to see some really quite heavy downpours mixed in here. Some hail and thunder can't be ruled out too. However, for parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, much of Scotland, generally a drier and brighter start to Monday morning. Perhaps a bit of a chillier start too. Temperatures here may be dropping into the low single figures, though the far northeast of Scotland a little bit milder due to that cloud and rain that's still lingering here. That cloud and rain continues to push its way northwards as we go through Monday evening, but it's across much of England and Wales that will continue to see those heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, bringing us some strong winds too. Parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland faring best in terms of any sunshine through the afternoon, and with lighter winds here feeling pleasantly warm in any sunshine. But even in the south, even though temperatures are above average, it won't be feeling particularly pleasant with those showers. Tuesday starts a bit of a mixed picture. Anywhere that we see clear skies, perhaps a little chillier, some mist and fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Vox Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Good evening, everybody. It's 9 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
On Tuesday night, I gave the order for British forces to take part in military action in Iraq.
Well, who is really running Britain? Is it possibly Tony Blair? Why do we keep hearing more of his opinions, and why does it seem the government are now caving into them? Also tonight. Well, you thought it's all over, but it isn't. Taking the knee for BLM is back on our Premier League pitches. Will this woke gesture signalling ever end? Plus,
at stake is not just the future of Ukraine, it is an existential question for Europe as a whole.
well, the nation's most senior army officer admits Ukraine cannot beat Russia without the help of NATO forces. Will our troops be drafted into World War III? And
every second I'm wearing it, you know, that is my jihad. And if I'm outspoken for it, then I could be part of this struggle against Islamophobia.
yeah, is diversity really Britain's strength? I'll bring you several shocking clips that will make you ask whether sectarians are plotting to take over our political institutions. Also tonight,
I've questioned myself as to why did I go, what was I doing, and was it the right thing to do?
yeah, a bombshell new investigation is launched into the latest allegations against Prince Andrew. And could Virginia Giuffre's upcoming memoir drag more of the royal institution into this ever-growing scandal? On our panel tonight, I've got the brilliant businessman and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and Labour councillor Seb Salek. And what do you think is going on here, eh? It only gets better. Your Saturday night, or it's your Sunday night even, and it starts right now. But before that, we're going to get your news with Bethany Elsey.
What am I going to do?
We're just waiting for your news in just a moment. But I've got a big show lined up for you tonight, guys. I promise you. There is some very, very worrying stuff that I've uncovered in my research over the last 24 hours that I believe shows some shocking sectarian infiltration into our political institutions across the country. Clip after clip, it is going to blow you away. Honestly, I couldn't believe what I was watching. We've also got Tony Blair. What's he been doing? Why is he everywhere at the moment? All of that and more. Now it's Bethany Elsey.
Thank you very much, Alex. Very good evening to you. I've got your top stories from the GB newsroom. Israel says they're resuming the enforcement of the ceasefire in Gaza after both sides accused each other of violations. The Israeli military says it's carried out a wave of airstrikes on Gaza after repeated attacks on its troops by Hamas. Local health authorities in Gaza say at least 26 people have been killed, while the Israeli military says 2 of its soldiers have died. Israel also blocked the supply of aid into the territory, but there are reports the border will reopen tomorrow following pressure from the US. British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has described the escalation as deeply concerning and called on all parties to avoid further bloodshed. The French president says everything is being done to recover priceless jewellery stolen from the Louvre in Paris this morning. It's understood 3 or 4 masked men broke through a window and stole 8 pieces from the Apollo Gallery, which contains the French crown jewels, before escaping on motorbikes. One item was found outside the museum, damaged. It's reported to be the crown of Napoleon III's wife.